And this guy, he felt frustrated because he didn't realize that we are not understanding his language. So he again said, "Pure gya," and he now this time he showed with action. And hi everyone, welcome back to Brunch with Books. I'm Shritapa Mahanti, your host, and today we are exploring two fascinating novels from very different worlds: Don Quixote by Miguel de Cervantes, a 400-year-old Spanish classic full of adventure and idealism, and Confederacy of Dunces by John Kennedy Toole, a modern American comic masterpiece that shows how eccentric misadventures reveal truths about human nature. Let's see what these stories, centuries apart, can teach us today. Over to you, Dr. Geeta, for more insight from the book.
Hi everyone. Is reading too many books dangerous or fulfilling them into reality dangerous? Meet Don Quixote, the medieval hero who took fiction too personally. Written by Miguel de Cervantes way back in the 1600s, this is the story of a man who read too many fantasy novels and lost his sanity. He decided the world needs more knight errants to set it right, and wearing his rusty old armor, holding his spear and riding his old horse, he set out on his adventure. And he roped in a shrewd farmer, Sancho Panza, as his lord, with the bait of making him rich and famous. Don Quixote battles windmills and he believes they are giants. He battles sheep, believing they are armies, and defends the honor of imaginary women and challenges the very fabric of reality. But this isn't just a comedy of errors. It is a profound exploration of idealism, madness, and the eternal clash between dreams and the world as it is. So, whether you would enjoy the laughs, the philosophy, or the sheer beauty of Cervantes' storytelling, step in. Because Don Quixote isn't just a character, he is a symbol of what it means to believe, to fail, and to keep trying anyway. So, Sancho and Don Quixote, they are continuing in their journey and they come to a place where goat herds are sitting down and having their humble meal. So, they invite them for their meal and seeing the spread of the goat meat and the acorns on the goat skin, Don Quixote goes into a monologue. He starts to talk about the golden age and the reality today. But Sancho and the goat herds, they quickly gobble up the food because Sancho is just eating fistfuls of meat in a very rushed manner. And fearing that the food would disappear, everybody, they are just gobbling up the food except Don Quixote. And none of them understand what he is saying. No word goes into their head. And then in the conversation, there is a goatherd who brings in the poetry of a shepherd who died of broken heart because of his love for a shepherdess. And she is the beautiful daughter of a merchant, and she is just, wandering the forest as a beautiful shepherdess. And then they actually they go to attend the funeral of that shepherd, and they listen to his last poem. Suddenly, the shepherdess Marcella herself enters and then she defends her right to her freedom, her choice, her desire if she wants to marry or not. And, Don Quixote agrees with her. And after this, Don Quixote and Sancho continue their journey and they go to a grove where a lot of grass is, beautiful, lush grass is there. And they take rest. As they slip into a deep sleep, the horse of Don Quixote, seeing that nobody is looking at him, he goes to sport with a group of mares who are grazing peacefully nearby. And the mares, they have their own choice, and the horse is not their choice. They kick and they bite him, and such a commotion that the mule drivers, they wake up and they come to the rescue of the mares. They beat up the horse black and blue, and hearing the noise, even Don Quixote and Sancho also run there. Now Sancho warns his master. These mule drivers are 11 in number and they are only two. But Don Quixote says no, he has to defend the honor of his horse. And he jumps in and he goes into a battle with them. And in the process, both of them are left battered on the side of the road. And I believe this funny episode and the tragic episode of Marcella and the maids becomes a social commentary as they assert their independence. The play of free will, freedom, and the first strong female voice of Marcella resonates in this rural romance and comedy. Now, my question to you, Siddharth: Marcella refuses to be blamed for the shepherd's death, insisting on her right to freedom, and even the maids also refuse the attention of the horse. Can we see this as a symbol of strength and independence, or coldness and detachment because of not honoring others' feelings? So, what are your reflections on this? Please share.
Wow, what a hilarious incident. And I was like thinking so much, can happen when we actually don't understand the other person's feelings. It is very natural and very normal. We go through this a lot. I have an incident from my US journey. I had a friend who had just arrived from India, and we went to a mall, and we were basically for went for a shopping, and she had to get a lot of things for herself. So we were roaming around, and she had a habit of keeping her handkerchief. There was a handkerchief she carried, and she was keeping it in her the coat she was wearing. She was keeping it on top of that. And while eating or while we were shopping, somewhere that handkerchief got lost. And that became such a hue and cry for her. I was laughing at her. What is it? It's just a handkerchief. And she was crying, and she was like, we went back to each and every place we were, visited before it. We went to the food mall. We went to all the shops where we had did a window shopping. Again, we did all that, and we didn't find the handkerchief. But she was like, she sat down and she was crying, crying, crying. Like, I was laughing actually. I was very insensitive, but then later I realized that okay, she's crying and we need to stop her. So I asked her, "What is so big about this handkerchief you have?" Okay, it's a handkerchief. We will get you more handkerchief here. But she said, no, that handkerchief is very favorite of mine. It has something stitched by my mom, and she gave me as a token that whenever I hold it, I can remember her. And it was so sentimental for her to hold that handkerchief that um, even I understood from her perspective where she was coming from. So I was like, okay, now we are not finding it. What can be done? So she was very sad, but I'm relating this incident now because when many a times you don't understand the other's perspective, they may be doing something from a very maybe emotional angle or some other thought or perspective, but we are looking at it from a different angle, and we are mocking at it, and we don't understand it. But this incident was making me more sensitive. I understood why she was crying. We couldn't find the handkerchief, but then we tried to cajole her with a good bucket of ice cream, and somehow she came back to normal sense. But yeah, I can completely relate to this incident. What is your takeaway, Shitapa?
Yeah, very, very emotional example, I will say, from your life. And yes, at times we don't realize before laughing why we are laughing. And one of the example which I have is like the parents usually there are some incidents where parents stand up in the school board all alone demanding better facilities for their childs with special needs, and they know that these are the odds and they are standing against them, and that time they don't know whether they will win that battle or not. It is just out of love and what they believe in, and that is what keeps them going with that simple trust that yes, that person or that child or deserves a justice, and with that cause, without thinking about whether they will win this or not, they bravely put their best foot ahead, and they stand against silence. That's something true that truly matters to them. And recent example was a mother from Ireland, Rebecca Meehan, is fighting for her 5-year-old autistic son's right to attend the right school. Despite this system repeatedly rejecting him, she continues to speak out, refusing to accept this injustice. And sometimes This noble battles are that which are the hardest ones, and that truly defines us, that whether we win or not, what keeps us standing is what we feel as what's right. And that's how I related to this whole story. With this, I will like to give it to Sujata for more insights from the book Confederacy of Dunces.
Thank you, Shritapa. That was such a relatable example you gave, so current, very much in the news now. So now, in the Confederacy of Dunces also, John Kennedy Toole, last week he introduced us to Ignatius J. Riley's medieval delusions. This week, the real world starts snucking. And trust me, it's hilarious watching Ignatius try to slam the door shut. Ignatius and his mother Irene, they end up in the Night of Joy bar, which is run by the sharp-tongued Lana Lee. The place is a little, I would say, questionable. Just picture a strip club atmosphere with an aspiring dancer named Darlene, and she's practicing with a pet cockatoo. Yes, a cockatoo. Well, Irene tries to fit in. Ignatius is absolutely horrified. He stuffs his face with food and drink, loudly calling the whole thing vulgar and corrupt. At one point, he says, the entertainment is encouraging base instincts. Everyone else rolls their eyes while Ignatius performs his role as the lone prophet of morality. Meanwhile, poor patrolman Mancuso is back in another of his ridiculous disguises. He's lurking in the background, trying desperately to prove that he's a policeman, not a patrolman. It's comic chaos, with everyone looking slightly ridiculous in their own way. Then the tension shifts back home. Irene has had enough. After Ignatius wrecked her car earlier, bills are piling up, and she can't indulge him forever. She tells him point blank that he has to get a job. Ignatius, horrified, clutches his chest, claiming his valve trouble. And he says that he's unfit for work. He launches into grand speeches about how the modern workplace is corrupt and unworthy of his genius. But Irene doesn't budge. This is the turning point. Ignatius is being forced out of his bubble and into the working world, and the stage is set for some of the funniest disasters of the book. So, you see, only Ignatius could treat the idea of a job as a tragedy of medieval proportions. Now, let's see how it maps to Don Quixote. Don Quixote gives us one of his most powerful defenses of freedom. Just now, as Dr. Geeta narrated the story, Marcella refuses to be blamed for Chrysostom's death. He argues that she has the right to love and or not love on her own terms. It's idealism clashing with society's judgment. Ignatius too sees himself as a defender of morality, railing against the Night of Joy Club and its so-called vulgarities. The difference? Don Quixote's idealism feels noble, even inspiring, while Ignatius looks pompous and out of step. Then there's a caretaker parallel. Don Quixote's friends burn his books. Irene pushes Ignatius towards responsibility. Both men's lofty ideals crash against the practical realities around them. So here's a shared lesson. Passion without balance can isolate us. Don Quixote's passion for honor and Marcella's passion for independence make them admirable, but also controversial. So now, Jasveer, I have a question for you and for all those who are viewing this session. Where do you draw the line between principled resistance and plain irresponsibility? So over to you, Jasveer.
Sujata, this is a very
thin line, wherein there are many youngsters who believe that they are out to change the world and they need time. Sometimes they want to take a break from their education and then they want to bring in something, a novel idea to the world. Well, that works if you actually put it into action. But it is obvious when after a few years, all that they are doing is there is only they're stagnating. There's nothing else happening. And they're trying to evade responsibility. It's as simple as when a child is young, he or she is so attached to their mother. And for them, the first day at school, they're screaming and crying, and they have that separation anxiety. They don't want to move ahead. So it's basically accepting responsibility that yes, now I'm going to be on my own and I have to grow up. And there are many adults who do not grow up from this feeling. They just want to be in the comfort of home or whatever place they are. Even if someone makes them realize, they want to evade responsibility. How Ignatius' mother is trying to make him realize, but he doesn't want to take up a job. It's very simple for him, while he's not adding any value to this world. So now I would like to hand over to Dr. Geeta to tell us more about the story. Thank you.
Yes, Jasbir, I agree with you totally. When responsibility is not taken properly, it really, creates tragic comic situations. And this is exactly what I want to narrate here of Don Quixote and Sancho, two partly. So now they are left battered and bruised on the side of the road, and they pick themselves up and proceed towards their journey. They come across an inn where Don Quixote thinks of the inn as the castle and he goes inside. He greets the innkeeper as the lord, and the innkeeper is very amused. And then he serves him supper. But Don Quixote, because he is not able to take out his helmet, becomes a comical situation when he tries to eat. And he is also very much wounded and he takes rest in the stable. So in the night, the funny situation happens. The innkeeper's daughter or a maid, it is a confusion there. So she comes in the night to meet her lover, who is another co-traveler. And in the darkness, as she is passing by the court of Don Quixote, he has been dreaming that he is having so much loyalty to his lady love, and if the innkeeper's daughter would profess her love to him, he is going to decline very politely. And he had been dreaming about this, and coincidentally, the lady is passing by, and he holds her hand and he prevents her from going forward by declaring his intention. Now she struggles to free herself, and there is commotion. The third traveler, who has been waiting for her, comes towards them, and in the darkness, he gives him a big slap on his cheek. The wounded Don Quixote is still rendered, senseless. And then suddenly the commotion wakes up the innkeeper, and he thinks, that lady is up to some mischief, and he rushes into the stable. And hearing him cry, coming there, the lady, she jumps onto the bed of Sancho, who is fast asleep. She curls herself into a ball and she just sleeps on him, trying to make herself as small as possible. But Sancho, feeling that heavy load on him, thinks that he is having a nightmare and starts beating up that mound of flesh, and she beats him up back. And there is total chaos, everybody beating each other up in the darkness. And then there is another junior, the warrant officer who is staying there in the inn. He hears the commotion and comes running with his tin can and her staff, and he comes inside, and then there is darkness, and he tries to feel around, and he finds the body of the senseless body of Don Quixote, and he thinks somebody is murdered, and he shouts out loudly, close the indoors, because there is a dead man here. Now everybody hearing his voice, they run to their respective places, and nobody is left there. And in the morning, when Don Quixote and Sancho wake up from their, that very disturbed sleep, Don Quixote realizes that it is not a castle, it is an inn. So he refuses to pay any money, and he proceeds further. And even Sancho, he follows his master. And then they proceed further, and it is almost night time when they come to the forest. And in the forest, pallbearers are carrying a coffin, and because that person is dead, and he is dead of plague, and like it is the dark, and they are all wearing white robes, and there is just one person in the front who is holding a flame, a torch or something, and they are proceeding very slowly. And suddenly, Don Quixote thinks that the coffin, the way that the body is lying, is a knight, and they are kidnapping him or murdering him, and he jumps on the first person holding the torch and beats him up black and blue. And suddenly, these unarmed coffin bearers, not knowing what is happening, but somebody like a lunatic, just jumping on them, they run helter skelter and rush away into the darkness. Poor that the junior clergyman who is holding the torch, he falls to the ground. And before Don Quixote could kill him, he says, I am a man of God, and if you kill me, you will never be forgiven. And this, is such a funny incidents that is happening. And I believe the story is both tragic and comic. Do you think we should laugh at their humiliations or sympathize with their persistence in chasing impossible? I believe that despite the inn scene and the forest scene, they show Don Quixote's delusions that create both laughter and chaos, often at Sancho's expense. Despite repeated humiliation and punishment, why does Sancho continue to follow Don Quixote? And that is really a mystery. So, my question to you, Siddharth, do you think we should laugh at the humiliations or sympathize with their persistence in where they chase impossible ideals? Please share your reflections on this.
Now, another hilarious episode, and I couldn't stop laughing and rolling on this one. Uh, I have one incident where, we had a new joinee. Um, we were doing a project and we had a new joinee in the project. And it was a difficult um, segment of the project which we were working on. And everybody was very serious. They were like, okay, how to do this? Everybody was strategizing and coming out with different automations and things like that. And this new joinee was had no idea this discussion is all about. And we are in a meeting room, and then this guy jumps out, raises his hand. I want to tell about the solution. Like, what is the solution? And everybody is looking at him. He's just a joinee, and what will he tell? He didn't even understand what the project was all about. And then he just started giving ideas. We were laughing frantically, just like this case of Don Quixote. And he was telling, I will do this, I will do that. And we all were looking at him and we were laughing at him and feeling why he is even talking. And I was like looking at him and getting this feeling that I need to stop him. And nobody was doing that. He was continuously talking. I wanted to stop him. So I asked him, his name was okay, I will not name him X, let's say X. And I just stopped him. I said, you know what? Why don't you get a coffee for us yourself, and we will close this discussion. And he didn't even understand then, and he was laughing. He was talking, and we were all laughing. So I again requested, okay, let's get water. I took him outside the room, and I was like telling, we are discussing something very serious, which is not like what you're talking or even understanding as. And the ideas you are giving are all foolish ideas because this will not work. So he was like taken back. Oh, is it? I didn't even understand. I thought I'm giving great ideas. Like, yes, I also thought, we all thought you were great, giving great ideas, and we were all laughing at you. So, oh, you thought you didn't realize that I was giving great ideas. So it was like that kind of a conversation I was having with him, that he felt that he was giving great ideas, but they were all rubbish. And I had to tell him that, come out of this room. You are not supposed to be here and talking like this. So yes, I mean, it was like explaining him that actually he was getting humiliated, but he didn't realize that he was getting humiliated. So, and finally, I explained him. We went for a coffee, and we came back, and he was really quiet after that. And yeah, we were working on our project. But this is something I could relate to, somebody talking nonsense or something not making sense, and they don't realize themselves that they are doing that, but they became a point of ridicule for a lot of people around them. That's my takeaway example. What about you, Shitapa? Over to you.
Back to back to Gita ji narrated a very hilarious story scene, and then this scene, and I can just add to it. I will say, so this is me. When I was moving from Kolkata to Pune, it happened. I was going to college, and I had boarded a bus, and in that conductor said, "पुढे घे, पुढे घे." Okay, so I don't understand the language. So me and my sister were there in the bus, and we were both going to college, and we both stand where we were, because we did not know what did he mean. Either he was talking to us or someone else, we didn't realize. So we observed here and there, and then said he is not asking money for sure, because we have paid. So so after again he repeated the same thing, and we went back, thinking let the other people go front. And this guy, he felt frustrated because he didn't realize that we are not understanding his language. So he again said "Pure gya," and he, now this time he showed with action, and we understood, okay, we have to go front. So I could relate to this incident. Over to you, Sujata, for more insights.
Thank you, Shritapa. So, just now you pointed out how so many times confusion is created because we don't know the actual facts. The perspective that is not clear to us, and so that can lead to confusion. So, in Confederacy of Dunces, also, Ignatius finally faces the unthinkable, getting a job. His mother pushes him into Levy Pans, this gloomy little clothing factory where most people, the workmen there, they just shuffle papers. But Ignatius, he sees himself as a medieval crusader trapped in a modern dungeon. Instead of filing invoices, he writes grand manifestos. At one point, he declares in a memo, I have written a defense of the dignity of the human being and a protest against a crime that is being perpetrated in this factory. His poor boss, Mr. Gonzalez, he just wants calm. But Ignatius is staging a moral revolution. And it only escalates. Ignatius decides the African American workers need him as their savior. He storms in shouting about oppression and justice. He even claims the Levy Pans factory is a perversion of nature. I am here to redeem it. The workers are baffled. Gonzalez is horrified, and the levies is they are left with a lunatic on a payroll. Now set that against Don Quixote in these chapters. He charges into what he thinks are enemy armies, but they are just sheep. He tilts at giants, but they are only fulling mills. He's mocked, beaten, and still insists his vision is real. Ignatius at Levy Pants is the same energy. Don Quixote in a necktie. Everyday office life becomes a battlefield. And like Quixote, his delusion is both hilarious and a little tragic because he believes in it so fiercely. So here's a common takeaway. When our private fantasies collide with everyday life, we laugh, but we also wonder, are they ridiculous dreamers or just idealists born in the wrong time? And my discussion question is this. Ignatius claims he's fighting for justice, but really he just creates chaos. Do we see him as a misguided idealist who deserves sympathy, or just a self-absorbed troublemaker? So now, Jasveer, I would like to hear your take on this. Over to you, Jasveer.
Sujata, Ignatius is a character of his own. I mean, we have many idealists who bring out changes in this world, but here he seems more self-obsessed, according to me, because here he's just trying to prove that he is adding value, while what is he doing? He's just confusing people to make it sound like he's a genius, and he wants to bring about change and revolution. At the end of the day, I don't know whether any value addition or any worthwhile action is being taken. So all he is doing is confusing people to the extent that it leads to inaction. And then he can easily evade responsibility. That is the best thing to do. Keep talking, get people so involved. At the end of the day, people forget that the action was supposed to be taken. So yeah, according to me, he's genuinely very self-obsessed, and doesn't really add value to life. I'm sure we know there are many leaders also in this world who do these things and misguide people, and that's where troubles start. So now I'd like to hand over to Shritapa to conclude our conversation today. Thank you.
Thank you, Jaspreet. Another very fantastic point from you that yes, at times people do speak more and don't add value. So, with this, we are just wrapping up today's episode, and I'm sure you must be enjoying the episode so far. So, to wrap up, first, sometimes what we understood from these stories is that when you stand for something which really matters for you, whether you win or not doesn't matter, but it is something which you feel it's right. And second, what we understood from these stories is that life can be funny and painful at the same time. So we may have to admire persistence and courage, and even when success seems impossible, we may have to just keep going. With this, I close today's episode. I hope you will enjoy these conversation from the book, and see you again next time in another conversation over the stories that shape us. Thank you.